Websites and landing pages. The design of a website or a single landing page can have a significant impact on its effectiveness. Now we know you're not designing web pages. Instead, the insights presented here are intended to help you evaluate and guide the work done by agencies and designers working on your behalf. In this DEG training video, we're going to discuss the following 3 elements of effective web design, including 1. The differences between web and print design, 2. Consumer behaviors and how that impacts design, and 3. The importance of continuous testing and adjustments. In the world of CPG, the key to great web design is about making things simple, easy, and fast. Don't make a visitor work to get things done, and don't make them think. Let's start with the differences between print and web design. It's often said that people surf the web but swim in magazines. Designing for the web and print are radically different. Printed materials are often read in a relaxed setting, whereas someone surfing the web is most likely solution hunting and quickly skimming content to find what they need. Imagine a consumer in a store using a smartphone to visit your site. Not exactly a relaxed setting. They need to get it and go. Printed materials are often presented using a storytelling approach. They present an author-driven narrative with longer, complete sentences and more details. Web content should, in most cases, be brief and get to the point quickly. Again, most visitors are on a mission to find a piece of information or complete a task. Good web content builds towards an action and can be identified as a user-driven narrative where we help them solve a problem. That means good web content typically has a shorter, easier-to-skim format that often contains bullet lists and sentence fragments. Some studies have shown that web visitors read only 20 to 30% of text on a page, so choose wisely and be concise. That means when it comes to content, less is more. Be wary of fluffy content. So, how do we best organize information? Information architecture, or IA, is the practice of structuring, organizing, and labeling content in a way that creates predictable paths and makes information easy to find. The overarching goal of IA is to help users find information and complete tasks most effectively. Great IA, great user experience. In practice, this boils down to navigation, menus, how pages link together, how content's organized, and how choices and topics are labeled. Web users expect consistent, predictable, and organized content, including standard website features and functions, such as a logo that functions as a home button in the top left, menu bars at the top of the page, and a search box in the upper right. CPG consumers look for and expect standard navigation choices like products, about us, contact us, and that helps them quickly find what they need. So be consistent with norms, no need for anything too fancy or different. Don't let an agency try to revolutionize or reinvent how people navigate your site. They can be clever with copy, but make sure the information is delivered in a straightforward way. Now let's talk about how consumer thinking impacts design. When reviewing web content created by an agency or team, put yourself in the shoes of the consumer and ask yourself, where am I? Ensure visitors know where they are throughout their journey. What can I find here? Make it easy for consumers to find what they're looking for. Where can I go next? Make sure visitors know there are options. For example, related products, people also purchased, etc. Let's talk about some best practices. Make navigation elements and directions visible and obvious. Everything should be easy to locate and self-explanatory. Confusing placement, complex choices, or weird labels can erode confidence in both the site and the brand. Confusing navigation elements can cause the consumer to leave our website before even finding what they need. Consumers are like sharks that need to keep moving. One way to keep the consumer moving is to eliminate the fluff. Fluff is small talk, filler content that simply slows down the visitor. Web users don't have time for small talk. Content must be brief, get to the point quickly, and keep the shark moving. Don't make the consumer think. When it comes to designing your website's layouts and navigation, don't offer choices that will require complex decisions. On the internet, users don't often choose the best option. Instead, when faced with many options, they choose the first plausible one. This concept is known as satisficing. In a sea of options, the satisficing choice is the first plausible choice that works. That means you have to make the choices obvious. One way to help the consumer make satisficing choices is to consider what they see when the page first loads. The web community has borrowed the term above the fold to refer to what the consumer sees on the page before scrolling down. Everything above the fold is about gaining interest, creating a positive first impression, and getting the consumer quickly to what they're looking for. Layout, visuals, and key messages are very important. These items determine if the visitor stays or goes. Getting your information architecture and content right is critical. Only about 20% of users view content below the fold. So make sure your designer or agency has put the most important must-have information above the fold. Now let's talk about reading patterns. Web users typically spend 70% of their time looking at the left half of the web page and just 30% of their time looking at the right. This is because English reads from left to right. We're simply programmed this way. It's natural for us to start on the left and move to the right. This tells us the focus of the page should be in the area above the fold and on the left. This is the sweet spot. The net result for a well-laid-out page is that important information should be placed in an F design that makes purposeful use of the top and left sides of the page. Let's talk about the depth of sites. The hierarchical structure of your site should not be too deep or too flat. It's a balance. Consumers don't want to click multiple times to get what they want, but they also don't want everything thrown at them at once. Again, it's a balance. Unofficially, some of the web community believe in a 3-click rule concerning the design of website navigation and structure. The rule suggests that consumers should be able to find any information within 3 mouse clicks or less on any given website. Now, every situation is different, but it's best to have less clicks to get to what a consumer wants versus more. Now, understanding the device that a consumer is using to view your website can have an important impact on the design. Today's consumers use a wide range of devices to access the internet. Smartphone users are responsible for about 50% of all website traffic. The split in viewership on your website may vary depending on your brand. At Hormel, we are promoting a mobile-first approach. At its core, mobile-first is about optimizing content for a small screen. So remember, less is more in content and design. Looking ahead, the mobile usage trend will only increase over time. It's clear. Mobile is the future, and our site should reflect that reality. Having said that, we're not going to abandon other screens. People access our sites from different screen sizes, including phones, tablets, and laptops. It's nearly impossible to design for every screen size. A popular approach is to implement responsive web design. This is the recommended approach by the DEG. In simple terms, a responsive web design uses queries to estimate the resolution of the screen on which it's being served. Then flexible images and fluid content size correctly to fit the screen, presenting the user with a clean, easy-to-read page where resizing, panning, and scrolling can be left to a minimum. No matter how much effort you place in organizing your content, there will always be a percentage of visitors who prefer to use on-site search. About 10% of internet users will almost always look for a search box as they enter a site and go there first. This behavior is only being reinforced with the usage of Google and shopping on Amazon.com. When it comes to on-site search, try to avoid these 4 common mistakes. Number 1, search results that don't account for typos, plurals, hyphenations, or other variants. 2, a search box that isn't long enough. 3, search results that aren't sorted by priority. 4, search results that simply don't make any sense. In our final section, let's talk about testing. Testing isn't just something you do at launch. It should be an ongoing effort. Consumers change. Things can always get better. Initially, after you've worked on a site, even for a few weeks, it's nearly impossible to have a fresh perspective. You know too much. The only way to find out what really works is to test. A great testing tool is behavior tracking software. These tools track the user's behaviors both on an individual page and across your entire site. Believe it or not, on a desktop or laptop computer, you constantly move the mouse cursor where you are looking. While it's almost subconscious, you do this so when you see something interesting, you can click on it quickly. Again, we act like sharks. Speed is important. Behavior tracking software captures these mouse movements and extrapolates a map that portrays how a user looks at a web page and where they focus or fixate. Most behavior tracking software will also record individual sessions of users in your test group. This allows you to more easily identify patterns where visitors become confused by navigation, lost in a link loop, or just leave. Even after the site launches, you can continue to use behavior tracking software to capture data on the people who visit your site. Another way to understand consumer behavior on your site is to use tools like Google Analytics. Analytic tools allow you to track key metrics like bounce rates, repeat visitors, time on site, page view duration, as well as track patterns in user behavior over time. Using this data to draw insights and changes is key. Regardless of which tools you use, you must constantly monitor and seek to improve the usability of your site. Launch it and leave it is not a recipe for success. In closing, let's recap the key points from this training module. Today we discussed the difference between print and web design, clear navigation, making everything easy to find, the need to eliminate fluff, don't make them think, leverage the F layout, think mobile, implement on-site search, the importance of testing, and the need for continuous improvement. Thank you for your participation in this module. If you have further questions on websites and/or landing pages, please reach out to the Digital Experience Group.